most of those middle 2 quarters, and then it all turned pretty quickly. What did you make of it?
Yeah, that was the story of the game. We were outplayed a little bit early, certainly outplayed in the last quarter, especially the numbers were really strange for us. It wasn't so much the clearances, but the contested ball numbers we were badly beaten there in the last quarter. Really early in the game, you got to tackle low and make sure we don't give away free kicks, but we did give away some free kicks that resulted in early, easy goals for them. They got some momentum and they took their shots as well. So it was a combination of, our sloppiness there and their good execution. Felt like we actually got the shots even earlier in the game too, and just didn't take them. That was kind of the story a bit. It's rare that the strange numbers, clearances a little bit our way, contested ball their way, inside 50s our way,
18 marks inside 50.
scoring shots our way, marks inside 50 massively our way. It was the rain came in a little bit and became a bit more of a slippery game, and often those numbers can be a little bit need to dig a little bit deeper. They're not very qualitative, those contested ball numbers, but when the disparity is that great, when the heat's really on the game, I think the weight of numbers kind of showed. But yeah, it wasn't a terrible performance. We didn't think, like even early, scoreboard was going against us, but they were good enough to get it inside 50 and convert. And we went forward through our good play. We didn't convert as well.
I think that once you got the opening minutes where you basically just didn't touch the ball, 3 goals.
Yeah.
6 minutes. Do you think that once you'd rested that control, that you would be able to manage and control the match?
Well, that's what we were telling ourselves. That's what we were hoping, but we hadn't seen it by that stage because there just hadn't been a contested game. There wasn't really many of those 50-50s, kind of 3 goals down before you know it, free kicks in the centre bounces, free kicks 15 metres out. But then when we did get a little bit better look at it, we actually thought we were going okay. So it came in at half time thinking the game had turned a little bit our way. That's the way it went in the third quarter. But even then, we just didn't put them away. We had our chances to. And as we're seeing a little bit across the season, if you don't take your chances, the opposition's probably going to get theirs. And they certainly took them. But again, it's worth stressing, their good players took their chances. Bruce was always going to kick that goal. We had a couple where we had long shots, went up the other end, Gunson had a long shot and knocks it over. So, good kicking's good footy. I'm not taking it away from them by any stretch.
How even is the competition right now? I mean, Hawthorn 8 days ago was smashed here, but today they produced an unbelievable performance. Have you got a feel? I know we're only 5 rounds in, but it seems to be settling now. What's your feel?
No, I think there are going to be ebbs and flows, and I think the competition is really tight. But I've thought that for a long time. But it's not necessarily going to be that way every week. I think it's. I suspect, like previous years, we'll look back and say it's not so much who you play; it's when you play them. We've already seen that through the early rounds of the competition. Some teams get ravaged by COVID. It's probably a good time to get them, but you could get them flying at Optus, and that's just bad timing. So, yeah, I don't think the season has settled, but I think everyone's pretty good. That would be our summary. We look around the comp and think, yeah, if they get the game the way they want it, they're going to be hard to stop. But we just want to be one of those teams as well that if the game's going our way, which it was for large periods of this game, we should be hard to stop. And that's kind of the summary of the third quarter a little bit, even early in the last. Like we had the game on our terms and didn't hammer home the advantage.
What's your feel on 50s? Because you mentioned the third quarter there. There was one you were a beneficiary of and resulted in a Tom Hopkins goal after 2 players raised one arm towards the umpire after watching a replay. Do we need more room for a little bit of emotion in the game?
I will make a mistake in this area at some point, so it's a risk holding me to it, but I just don't want to have an opinion on that stuff. I just want to understand it as well as possible. Blitzarves gave away a free kick right at the end, I think for not coming back to the 9. Generally the umpire pulls them back to the 9. He didn't go over the mark, that's for sure. So that's one, if you've sort of turned the focus on us, it's incumbent on us to say to the players, this is how the game's being interpreted. Your opinion does not matter. My opinion does not matter. Let's just be as good as we can at understanding it.
So that's what you're telling players, just
Well,
sort of
yeah, what
flip it to send? Just
Well, I think so, yeah. Well, no, well, I know so. That's what we are saying because we understand it clearly. It's been communicated over a long period of time really clearly and we understand it. Does that mean we won't transgress? I suspect we will because it's a highly emotional game. But like even that one, again, just give you a bit of a window into what we're doing in the box. Had no idea what it was for, had no desire to look at the replay. It just is what it is. Let's get on with it.
Patrick Dangerfield's had 3 sub-20 disposal games so far this
Sorry,
year.
I can't hear you,
Sorry.
Michael.
Patrick Dangerfield's had 3
Daniel,
sub...
sorry.
No, you're right. Had 3 sub-20 disposal games so far this year, which is very unlike him historically. Do you need more from him, or is he playing a slightly different role, or what do you put that down to?
You're sort of conveniently leaving out round 1 when he was clearly the best player on the ground. Yeah, so like 5 rounds, I get a bit defensive about our plays, you know me. He's played forward a little bit. He's had a few little niggles that haven't kept him out of games that might be holding him back a little bit. He wouldn't like to use that as an excuse, but yeah, I think that's another way you could summarise how the game is going. If your good players play really well, or I'll flip it to the opposition. Sicily had a real impact on the game, and that's easy to predict. It was an interesting game. He sets him up. He's a really smart ball user. It's sort of the intercepts that were damaging, but Cameron could have kicked 6. So it's how do you assess it? I've got the luxury you guys don't have, which is 24 hours to look at the vision. But Patrick, no, he's been in really good shape through the pre-season. I think he's going to have a better year this year than he has the previous 2.
The Eagles are not sufficient to keep him out of the game, but are they sufficient to keep him out of you using him where you would like to use him all the time?
Sorry, Michael, I couldn't hear the first bit.
The niggles that you mentioned that won't keep him out of the game,
Yeah.
are they though keeping him more out of you being able to use him as you would normally use him? So you're having to play him forward a bit more or use him a bit more sparingly the way you would normally use him?
I mean, he wouldn't be comfortable with me talking about it, I don't think, because again, he's just so strong on not using these things as an excuse. I don't know whether we're right necessarily, but we do tend to back our players. We give them a structure that we'd like to work within and then empower them. So if you want to read from that he's choosing to be out of kind of the action a little bit more, for his own reasons, then that I think that's a reasonable assessment to make. But yeah, we're not deliberately keeping him out of there longer than we want him to be in there because of his body.
What happened with Jack Henry?
The feedback is that he stood on someone's boot and tweaked his foot a little bit. So the concern for there is that he had foot surgery in the pre-season. It's the same side. I don't know the detail of it. What I do know is he's got a big rod in there and the bone's stronger than it was before the injury.
Jed Hughes, Cam Guthrie seemed to issue during the game. Where were they?
Yeah, Jed Hughes' shoulder couldn't go on. And Cam Guthrie cork that he sort of battled through. Pretty good effort, really. Leg, I think what he's pointing to. Yeah.
What did you make of Tyson Stegall today? He had a great round 1. He's been a bit quiet in the last few weeks, and you've got a lot of quality there knocking on the door. Did he looked like he stood up today under that pressure?
Yeah, I think he has all year. Yeah, I think he's playing the role that we brought him in to play. We're really positive about the way he's going.